Yet another episode of Tantra Tuesdays happens every single Tuesday. We've got such an interesting subject today with one of the OGs of Tantra. I mean, if you visited Bali, you've definitely been to at least one class or one session by my guest today. So, what I'd like you to do is stay till the end because the topic is so much fun that the real juice will come towards the end. The real deep tips will only show up towards the end of the video. So whether you're watching this later or whether you're watching this live, we would love for you to stay till the end. Okay? It live or watching it later. Because when you leave comments, we are really able to answer to the depth with which you understand subject that we're talking about. And speaking about depth, like I said, it's one of the senior most Tantra practitioners around the world and having helped thousands and tens of thousands of people in their journey of transformation. Shiva Rajaya from Bali. Namaste.
Namaste. So nice to see you, man. Thank you for the invitation. I'm excited to be here today.
Thank you for joining and thank you for brainstorming such an interesting topic. I think this is the coolest topic I've had so far on Tantra Tuesdays.
Yay!
Yeah, and
Exciting.
it takes some amount of, I feel, courage and fearlessness and guts to talk about this topic because in today's world of spiritual bypassing, everybody's good vibes only. Whereas in Tantra, we know we want to welcome all the vibes. You know,
Exactly.
the poster of good vibes only, we want to throw it away. We want to welcome the bad vibes, the evil vibes, the dark vibes, the shadow vibes, and the good vibes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, totally. When I think about darkness, it's not something that I find scary at all. I find it, on the contrary, very exciting. When people talk about shadow work, I don't even use the word shadow work. I use the word shadow mastery expression, because it's all very exciting topics. Instead of being afraid of all that, when we start diving into it, we see the beauty and the refinement and the potential on how we can enhance our lives. So it's not something to be scared about. On the contrary, and in my experience working with these energies, with the energy of Kali or dark feminine or dark masculine, it's extremely safe. It's not something that takes us down some form of weird place. I've been using the Kali energies in my life for 25 years, and it's the more I play with those energies, the more powerful life becomes, and the more grounded, anchored, and safe it actually becomes. So this is what we are
Amazing.
focusing on.
So
Yeah.
let's give an insight on through the end of this talk. What would be the highlights of somebody who stays with us till the end? What will they get and what will they understand?
Wow, that's an excellent question. So the first thing I would like for you to have an experience, right, of what darkness is, so that you can really have a visual or a physical or an emotional experience of what darkness is. That's one. The second one, I would like for you to receive at least 2 or 3 techniques that you will remember that you can start
Or
integrating
more?
into your life. Yeah, or more, exactly. And one more thing, it is to understand the wisdom behind it, to really have a concept or an understanding about what it is when we talk about darkness within the field of Tantra, how to position and have a couple of mindsets that you can really use in your daily life. If somebody asks you about it, it's something that you can bring up again, so that there is less confusion around that. Because
So that's more
yeah,
than one reason for you to stay with us till the end, whether you're
yes,
watching live or whether you're watching later. But remember, we'd love your comments. When you can ask us questions, that helps us to steer the conversation to something that is
absolutely.
more valuable for you. And the questions you ask can be useful for others also. So whether you're watching this later or watching it live or listening to it later, make sure you leave a question for us. On that note,
Absolutely.
let's get started. Why did we choose this topic?
Uh, yeah, good one. So my belief is that the field of Tantra, imagine that there is this field of energy that is the field of Tantra. Is an intelligent spirit, an intelligent force, and this force is going to go and embody itself in the areas which is the most needed on this planet, the places where there is pain, the places where there is something unsolved. So it's healing power, healing energies that are going to give us pathways on how to navigate what is challenging for us or for the human race. And so I believe that this idea of light and darkness is one of the core topics where there is so much confusion and division inside of us. I believe this is why it's a fascinating topic. The question that I want to ask you, the viewers, it is, when we say the word darkness, what comes to mind? You know, what is it that you associate with darkness? Is it something that is exciting, that makes you want to know more? Or is it something that you go like, oh my God, this is evil, it's dangerous? So take a moment just to tune into this idea of darkness. What does it mean to you? What does it mean? What are the emotional, the associations that you have for you? I just want you to take just a few seconds there to check in your field, and then we will dive deeper into what darkness actually means for us, you know, within the field of Tantra.
I love that you brought it in, especially the word evil, because in the Indian subcontinent, at least, whenever you use the word Tantra in common parlance, people think it's all these hocus pocus magicians sitting in graveyards, drinking blood from skulls and putting spells on people. Of course, there is the, let's say, the dark side of Tantra, where Tantra at the end of the day is a system or is a technology, and there's people using these tools and these energies to harm other people. But people are using every single tool to harm other people, whether it's the internet, whether it's Instagram, whether it's social media. You know, a knife can either cut an apple or kill a human. So blaming the tool for causing harm is not going to add any value. So I'm glad you used the word evil, because many people in India, at least, the minute you use the word Tantra, they think it's evil. Yes. And they think it's, especially when you use the word Tantra and darkness, they think it's all witchcraft and black magic and spells and stuff like that. And they forget the most ancient tantric definition in Sanskrit, which is Tanoti Trayati iti Tantra. Expansion and liberation is Tantra. And that expansion, with the help of integrating the darkness, is what we're talking about today.
Exactly. So it's exactly what you're describing. The field of Tantra for me is a complete path of life mastery in the field of awakening. This is how I define Tantra. It's not sensual, energetic, emotional exchange. It's not about that. There is some possible sensual or erotic gratification, if we want, within that field. But the core idea is that me as a human being, if I want to wake up, right, wake up beyond the matrix, reunite myself with the source, with the spiritual source, what do I do? How do I start? And we have so many pathways on this planet. You know, you have Tibetan Buddhism and Sufism and Kabbalah and mysticism and different forms, right? So Tantra is one of them. It's the one that I embrace the most, because for me it's really embodied, it's integrated. But basically it's a pathway, an energetic pathway of awakening. And is what you're saying. The word Tantra itself means system or weaving, right? It means that we have in Hindu mythology, you have the sutras, you have the tantras, you have the agamas, you have the Vedas, and each one of those groups of scriptures represents a certain teaching or a certain pathway. So if you want to wake up, and you need a system of awakening, right? You need some form of energy which is going to sponsor the evolution, where it's in the form of a physical teacher, an embodied guru, a teacher, an awakened master, or something like that, or it's something that is more vaster in the form of an energy field. The field of Tantra is a system of awakening. If you want to wake up and you go like, there is something beyond the veils of this matrix and I want to be able to access it, then the Tantra is a path of awakening, exactly in the same way as yoga is, right? It's like those two pathways, imagine them.
I prefer the word remembrance more than awakening. Because in Tantra, we don't think we're asleep, we just need to remember we're awake.
Absolutely.
We got a question here from Jane Bratslavaska. I love that name.
Yes.
What qualities should be developed in a person to be ready to dive into the dark side? I think that's a nice segue for us to start discussing on the dark side. You want to answer first?
To dive into the dark side. It's not so much about the qualities that you have to develop. It's much more about starting to practice certain things. For instance, we can dive into the field of Tantra. If we take it generally, rather than focusing on the darkness, right? We're going to just focus on just Tantra in general. What we want to bring in is practices or techniques. For instance, some of the things that I like the most teaching and bring straight away into the field of Tantra, it is energy dynamic techniques, meditation techniques. So this will be in the form of shaking or in the form of breathing or in the form of energy release. We will bring some very simple mantras and activations. So those are initiations, right? And it's something that you can receive through some of my videos, for instance, or what Anjana is teaching as well. Or it's something that you can receive in a direct transmission through one of the sessions or some of the trainings that we're doing. So it's not so much about the quality that you need. Well, if there is a quality, it's simply curiosity. It's like, hey, this sounds interesting. Why don't I try for maybe 1 month to have a 15-minute daily morning activation? That's it. Enter with curiosity. And then as you develop a relationship or a connection with those techniques, those practices, and you realize, okay, this is really working. It's a little bit like eating really delicious food. Like, for instance, over here, I have some delicious food, superfood drink. I drink that. The reason why I drink it is because I tried and it feels really good to my system, right? And so I keep on doing. And the more I do it, the better it feels. And I go like, okay.
Confirmation bias.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I love that answer. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. That's beautiful. I love it. And I'm completely aligned with you. So Jane, if you ask me, the only quality you need is curiosity. So if you're curious enough to find out all aspects of you, and if you can follow the advice of people who are interested in your development, whether it's advice like Shivaraja is giving of having a practice and getting the confirmation bias that that practice works, or simply finding practices that help you expand, practices that help you stay in a state of awareness and in a state of conscious, intentional living. I think that's the only quality you need, the quality of curiosity. Yes. Right?
Yes,
what do you feel? If you're curious about your dark side, you will automatically become more aware of it. Your self-awareness will increase and you will learn how to integrate. But if you're not curious, like, I'm just going to ignore that aspect of me, then whatever it is, whatever your dark side is, your shame, your guilt, or your shadows, or it's just going to stay there.
Yes. Yes, beautiful. So for, again, it starts, for instance, when I started practicing some yoga, I was really just trying. It's like you have a book, you try some practices or some techniques, and then you notice that it's having a positive impact in your field. But now if we move more specifically into the field of, understanding darkness and making it more specific into that, then would you like to start diving a little bit into that?
Yeah. So today's topic is basically designed to deconstruct what does it really mean when we say dark side. And I know through his brand Vital Coaching, Shivaraja has been dealing with this for a while, and it's a passionate subject for him. I have to admit, I have not really dived deep into as many experiments with the dark side as you have. Also because I think I'm very thankful to the amazing parenting and the childhood, being born in a Vedic and Tantric family. I'm very blessed to not have elements of shame and guilt and childhood trauma and father wound and mother wound and many other things that I find my clients have. So I'm very blessed with that. And so I want you to take the lead on this and tell us, what does darkness really mean? And then after that, what does this mastery of darkness mean?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing all that. So I'm just going to show you something over here, maybe something that you can see.
It's upside down, but...
Upside down for you?
Yeah, because the front camera on Instagram mirrors the images.
Okay, so I'm just going to spell it for you. Over here you have the feminine side, over here you have the masculine side, and then you have the light and the darkness. So imagine that those
Beautiful
are like
Beautiful chart.
Four polarities of life, right? And most of the times when we go into the light, we say the light is good and the darkness is bad, right?
Yes.
That's the way we look at it. Darkness is evil. So instead of looking at it like that, we are going to look at this as 4 polarities of life. That's it, very simple. It's 4 polarities of life. So imagine that our job over here is to integrate those 4 polarities. Me, as a man, I want to integrate my masculine side, my light masculine, my light feminine, my dark feminine, and my dark masculine. So I want to integrate those 4 polarities, right? Very, very simple. For those of you
watching, this is the golden nugget. So pay attention. He will repeat all the 4 again. Really, if you just get this, you automatically understand that there is no good or bad. And when we say in Tantra, there is no good or bad, this is exactly what we mean. They're just different sides of the same coin, different colors of the different side of the hand. It's the same hand. One side has a different color and the other side has a different. That's all we're talking about. So
Exactly.
pay attention if you
Exactly.
didn't, and listen to
Exactly.
our man once again.
So even if you remember only that, right, those two polarities of life. So here's what tends to happen. It is that in the Western world, for instance, in the Christianity system, you will have the light is good, and then the darkness is going to be evil, right? Everything that is dark, if I arrive in a public place and I say, I am a master of darkness, people will think that I'm satanic, right? That I'm working with evil forces. So we are going to deconstruct that. We are not in a Star Wars movie where the light has to destroy the darkness or the darkness has to destroy the light. And they are not fighting with each other, okay?
And movies are not real.
Exactly. So light and darkness inside of me, they are not fighting with each other. They are complementing each other.
Remember,
this is the polarity that we want.
This is a very powerful statement. So remember this, the light and darkness inside you are not opposites and they're not fighting. They're actually complementing each other.
Exactly. So imagine that you have the light polarity and the darkness polarity, and the two of them are two polarities of life, very pure. Darkness doesn't have a connotation of good or bad. It simply is, right? When we see a black hole in the universe and we see a dying star, that is just a certain quality. So that it's a part of the circumstance of life, and we are created both by light and darkness, right? So if you're watching this video, think for yourself. It's a very simple question. Do you have darkness inside of you? Do you have darkness? And my belief is that everybody has some degree of darkness inside of them. And darkness doesn't mean evil. Again, it's just a certain polarity of life. A little bit like you have night and day. It's just like you cannot have light existing without the darkness or the opposite polarity. So it's not about one being good and the other one being bad. If you want to look at the symbol, right, the yin and yang symbol, again, that's the kind of model that you want to tune in. You have the light vibration over here, and then you have the dark vibration, and the two of them are in harmony. It can also be symbolized as feminine and masculine polarities if we want. But basically, this is what we're trying to do.
Shakti.
Exactly. So the reason why we want to unify those polarities inside of us, it's precisely because this is one of the core or the keys to go back to a state of oneness rather than separation.
This is a good point to bring in modern science and quantum physics, which talks about the existence of dark space and dark matter. And in science, when they say dark matter, they don't see it as evil or, Darth Vader coming and killing you with a red, lightsaber. They just see it as a form of matter. And today they're talking about quarks and protons and neurons and even micromolecules, microatoms, which have dark matter in them. And they haven't figured out what this dark matter is, but they figured out that this dark matter is what holds all the other matter together.
Exactly. So basically, you see that we are converging between quantum physics and the whole science model of existence, and at the same time, we are really building the mysticism in there. So here is, the core idea is this. It is that light is not fighting against darkness inside of you. They are trying to join forces. They are trying to be unified. This is about creating harmony. That's one very core mindset. If you remember that and you're not fighting.
This is a tweet, this is a poster, this is a Instagram post. Your light inside you is not the enemy of the darkness inside you.
Exactly. They are trying to get harmonized. And so the next step, when you're trying to embrace your darkness, you go like, what does it mean to embrace my darkness? What are the qualities that I'm embracing? Then we have to make a very clear distinction, Listen to this. Shadows and darkness are two very different things. Darkness by itself doesn't have a connotation. It's a little bit like fire. There is not good fire or bad fire. There is just fire. Life force. There is just life force. It's how we are going to use it now. So shadows are everything that makes us feel uncomfortable. Anything that is going to be out of balance, anything that is going to be unintegrated, everything that has to do with with toxicity in life and so on. So those are the shadows, and the shadows are very different than the darkness. When we look into this model over here, you cannot read it because it's upside down or reversed, but you will notice that over here you have unintegrated, unhealthy, and toxic, right?
Yes.
Around
Yes.
all the circle. And over here you have shadows, right? Those are
Yes.
shadows. And so over here you have the external circle, which is unintegrated, and the inner circle, which is going to be integrated and mature and healthy, right? So
Yes.
what we want over here, again, is to make a very core distinction between shadows and darkness. Most people are going to overlap them. Don't overlap them. They are two different things. And then
Yes.
within the darkness itself, we will have shadows, but we will have
Yes.
shadows also within the light. For
Within
instance,
the light. Absolutely.
a shadow of the light. For instance, if I'm in my light beauty, all that, one of the shadows of the light is that I'm going to be not very responsive, not very
Yes.
present. I don't care about
Yes.
material goods. I will be like, you know what? If you want to see me, I'll be like, well, I will just go with the flow and see what happens because I don't make plans and I'm a free being, right?
Yeah.
This will be a shadow of my light
It's
vibration,
very
of my light
common in
frequency.
Bali, right?
Exactly. We are space junkies, right? I lived 12 years of my life being completely disconnected from reality and getting lost into meditation. I just wanted to be into a cave. Doesn't mean that it's bad, but then
Yeah.
when we bring that back into reality, we bring that back into society, then it can be perceived as a shadow, right? Another
Exactly.
shadow,
In
another
Tantra and
shadow
in
of the,
Sanskrit, we have a term for this. It's called samskaras. So
exactly.
samskaras are repressed energies that exist in our subconscious. And Carl Jung talks about this. He says that the less embodied you are with your shadows, the blacker and denser it is. So anything unacceptable, shameful, sinful, evil, that leaves a subliminal or a seed or a bija impression in you, which is suppressed or rejected, any repressed energies that can be called samskaras or shadows. And integrating that is the mastery of it.
Exactly. So the reason why we are talking about all that is because we want to become masters of our darkness and masters of our shadows, both of them, right? So if we go
That's
back to
right.
the darkness down here, back to the darkness, within the darkness, you will have immature or shadow darkness, right? And then you have mature darkness. For instance, if I have a family and I start abusing my wife verbally, emotionally, that's going to be an immature expression of my darkness. It's going to be dark. I'm going to be very aggressive. I'm going to be forceful. I'm going to be controlling and jealous and limiting her freedom, for instance. That's going to be an expression of my immature darkness. Now, if I enter into my protective role and I'm all loving and all caring, I'm going to enter into my mature darkness. But basically what tends to happen is this, it is that for most people, darkness is only going to be the bad stuff,
Yes.
but it's not.
Yes.
It's like there are aspects of my darkness that I need to engage into life to make life more interesting and more grounded. If I don't own my darkness, I will be very, my boundaries are going to get crossed.
Yes.
I don't know how to make a
Yes.
living. I'm going to be very suspended and miss the foundation. It's a little bit like if you have a temple or if you have a house and you don't have a strong pillars of foundation that go all the way down to rock bottom, then an earthquake comes and the house falls apart, right? So it is the
Very true.
same when it comes to spiritual evolution. The deeper you go into the foundation, the higher you can go into the light, because you are going to have really those two polarities that are completely integrated into your field. Okay, you get that? This is really important dynamics because then it dissolves the contradictions that are inside of us when it comes to light and darkness, right?
So that's the first important word you said there is engaging. Unless you engage with the darkness and become aware of it, you can't have mastery. So that word that Shiva Rajaya said today is so important. You have to actively engage with the darkness within you so that the awareness increases, right?
Exactly, exactly. We want to start engaging with it, precisely because it's interesting. The reason why I engage with my darkness and I explore those realms is because I go like, it's fascinating to me. I go like, it's like entering into a jungle at night and you go like, what kind of beings are we going to meet in there? So I can give you
And there's a
another,
nice way to look at it. How else will divinity experience darkness if not through you?
exactly,
Right?
exactly. So
And
I
let's
believe,
assume divinity is separate from you and it wants to experience the humanness, and that's why it's given you darkness and light to experience both. So you'd be
exactly.
doing divinity a favor by engaging with your darkness.
Exactly.
Leave a comment for us with questions. Don't forget to do that, because the more you ask us questions, the more we can engage with you. Like we're
Exactly.
engaging with our darkness.
Exactly. So let me show you another model, right? Over here we have
Beautiful, the Sri Yantra.
the Sri Yantra, and you notice that this one is a gold one, and it's surrounded by black, right? So imagine that this is a symbol of your dark foundation. Imagine that this is like a temple, right? And it goes all the way down into the foundation. We want to build a golden temple into the darkness. This is what we're trying to do, right?
Beautiful.
So imagine
That's
that
the
this
highest
is really
level
like
of engagement, is building a golden temple for your darkness. I love that. I love that.
exactly, exactly. So this is one of the things. The other things that we have over here, for instance, when we think of, Trishul, or the other ones here, the power of the Vajra, for instance. This is precisely the kind of tools that we are using when we go into trying to conquer or master our darkness. We're going to use the power of the Trishula, the power of destruction, change, and transformation, so that we have a guiding force that allows us to create space within that energy rather than being trapped into untamed shadow emotions. Another image or a metaphor that you can use is, for instance, if you saw the movie Avatar, of course,
Yeah.
where the hero jumps on this dragon, the dragon will be a symbol of his darkness, right? It's this
That's
passionate fire that is ready. And in the beginning, his darkness is trying to kill him. And then he jumps out of the cliff and he discovers ways of navigating the darkness. In the beginning, he's just going to die fall out. But then eventually he discovers that he can master his darkness. He can master his dragon. He can master his own animal nature by giving instructions, very clear instructions. Go right, go left, go down, go up. And then eventually he becomes unified, right, by tuning his hair and connecting with the instinctual nature. Then eventually he merges with those forces and his energies, and he becomes one with his own inner dragon. So that's another metaphor, another archetype.
So I know we said movies are not real, but movies like Avatar pretty much, and The Matrix and other movies pretty much might resonate with what's happening in the world. And I love that you brought the Trishul up. And I noticed your Trishul not just has one side, but has two sides. So traditionally, the Trishul is a stick and has only a trident on one side. It was Shiva's weapon way before it became Aquaman's weapon.
Exactly.
Aquaman has a Trishul too, and the Shul means pointed intentional entry. 3 is 3. Trishul is a pointed intentional entry into the 3 dimensions. So in the Shastras or in the text, it says Earth, that is Swargaloka, Bhuloka, and Patala Loka, which is hell. But it could also be the 3 dimensions within you, which is who you really are, your light self, and your dark self. So your light, your shadows, and you as the observer of the light and shadows, separate from the light and shadows, the Trishul penetrates and engages with both of these. And I love that it has 2 sides. That's so amazing.
Yeah. So this is a Balinese design, right? When I was looking for one, I was looking for one that would be just like this, right? A stick. And then I found this one, and I go like, oh, that's interesting. And of course, this can be in also the polarity of the mastery of the polarity of into the light, into the darkness, or feminine, masculine polarity, or any form of polarity that we can imagine in life.
It's a Sapta tool.
Yes, exactly. It's a super tool. And this is exactly. And this one is the power of change, transformation, destruction. It's one of the powers of Shiva and Kali as well. And it's something that when we start activating that, what it does is that it destroys inside of us the aspects of our ego that we no longer need. This is what we're doing. We're diving deep into the darkness and looking into there and doing some cleanup. You go like, okay, what about this insecurity? What about this undigested rage or anger? Or what about this greed that I have inside of me? All that, the Trishul goes like, okay, all of that is something that you can wipe out. You don't need any of that. Let's go back to the ideal principles or the ideal values that you want to incarnate into this life, which is generosity, kindness, love, have lots of power, have also aggressive energy, master my aggressive energy, but basically be able to direct that into something that is serving the planet and mankind. Both Anjan and myself, we are absolutely 100% committed to the upgrade of the human race, right? The reason why we do what we are doing right now is because we see potentials that are not being activated. So for myself, this is not about self-gratification. It's not about my ego. It's not about getting rich. It's not about any of that. It's like, can I help humankind evolve? And this is what we're trying to do over here by giving you some little hits. So
So
this
one of the
visual art
shadows
helps
that
us.
I worked with is, this is very interesting, and this is personal for me, right? One of the shadows I
Yes.
worked with, I had the let's say the Brahmastra, or the delusion that I'm going to be able to help all of humankind. And that was a desire. I want to help all of humanity. And many of us who are in this path of yoga and tantra and light workers and healers, we have this, I want to help the entire world. And I found out that was a shadow, because it was me just wanting something. Then I realized it's not realistic. I can only help whoever comes around my aura, or around my ecosystem, around my vicinity. And even after they come, I have nothing to do in helping them. Like you and me, we can share perspectives, we can give ideas, we can give tools and practices and tips, but every single person
Yes.
has to help themselves.
Exactly. That's a really good point. I came to the same conclusion years ago when I was like, okay, wow, the planet is in such a mess. We
Yeah,
really need to save everybody and everything. And the
can't do
idea
anything.
was not that at all. I was connecting with the energy of Mahavatar Babaji at that time. That was what was being channeled. And the message was like, everything's okay. Everything is in its space. The planet is fine. Humankind is fine. Just give nature a little help here and there, whenever you
Yes,
can. It's a little like if there
yes.
is a stick across the stream, just allow for the stick to be taken away by the stream. That's it. Remove a
Beautiful.
little bit,
Beautiful.
some shadow here and there, but there is nothing. It's not like a distant goal. I mean, we can look at it from that angle, but this allows us to relax into this work. It's like right now we wake up in the morning. I don't know about you, but I wake up happy. I'm having the time of my life. I'm celebrating life. I'm really having a great pleasure in positively impacting in the lives of people around me, right? So it's not like searching, is not feeling miserable about the planet and mankind. It's like everything is in its own pace, in its own way, navigating itself, and nothing or nobody needs to be rescued. That's one way of looking at it. But then we can help here and there. If I have somebody who comes into my field who needs a little,
Yes,
um, a little hint or something that we can, of course, facilitate change. But
absolutely.
listen, whoever you are over there, you're already beautiful beings. You already have a high degree of fulfillment in your life. And then it's just a matter of perfecting, adding some tools or a couple of
A
elements that might
matter
help
of
you. Uh,
remembrance of your divinity.
ex- exactly.
So I love that
Exactly.
you
This is
mentioned
beautiful.
Mahavatar Babaji, and though we've spoken a few times, neither of us has mentioned him to each other. And now I have a feeling he's the one who's orchestrated this conversation.
Exactly. For me, it has been
I have
fundamental. I went to the Himalayas. I went to Badrinath and to Satopant
Kedarnath.
and to all this Chardam area. And over there, when I arrived in the valley of Badrinath and going to Satopant and to Swargarohini, it's a beautiful place where, some of the last Pandava died on the way to heaven. Uh, so over there in this valley, it feels like the whole valley is the resonance. It's a guru field. Literally,
Yes,
I put my tent somewhere there in the middle of the glacier, and it feels like everything is vibrating, resonating. Sometimes you feel this
absolutely.
invisible presence around, right? So I feel that
Which is
at the
why,
very
which is why
end,
the world now wants to travel to India, and Badrinath, Kedarnath, even Varanasi, Kashi, Rishikesh in the south, Tiruchirappalli, Madurai. There's so many power spots in India where you don't need to really meet anybody. You just go there, and if you're sensitive enough, you start feeling.
exactly. Yeah, Ramana Maharshi was considering that Arunachala was his guru, right? It was his guru
Yes,
field. It was being guided by the energy of the mountain, by the sacredness. So for me, that's how I perceive the Himalayas as well, the Tibetan
I love that.
plateaus as well, and there are some areas which are a little bit more specific like that. It feels like
Yes,
the area of Badrinath is like Babaji's invisible ashram is very
yes.
or invisible temple is present over there. I think there is a question there. Can you give us an
There
example
is.
in how we
So this is Noora 81. Now we know how old you are. She says, can you give us an example how we can impress our darkness? Now, because you're a lady, you can also impress like an emperor your darkness. Like when we do some things that make us feel guilt or shame, how can we impress? I'm assuming she means engage with your darkness. She's laughing because I figured out her age, Noora 81.
Exactly.
Great.
So,
You go first,
yeah,
Shivarajaya. How can you engage with our darkness? I'm assuming that's what she's asking.
yeah. So when we do some things that make us feel guilt or shame. So again, the energy of guilt or the emotion of guilt or shame, those are shadow emotions, right? And so the first thing that you can do to yourself, or the first thing that you can check, Noura, is that guilt or shame useful in your field? Is this a shadow which is immature, or is it mature? Is this an emotion that is mature or immature? And most of the times, once you figure out where the shame comes from, you go like, okay, I had to learn a lesson, and then I feel a little bit ashamed, I made a mistake, and you overcome that, and then you identify it as something that you no longer need in your field. The shame by itself, the leftover shame, is not very useful, right? It's not a very useful emotion or energy to have in your field. So then what do? Then you start activating your darkness. You start activating your darkness to be able to clear that. And you can activate your darkness through the feminine or through the masculine. But if you go through the feminine, then you start invoking a prayer. You are going to call in the energy of Kali, right? Because Kali is going to be the force or the destroyer that is going to come into your field and remove the obstacles. So here I have a few images of what Kali looks like. As you can see, she looks very terrifying, but no wonder, no worries. She's our friend. Like, for instance, over here, she's got all these skulls around the neck, right? Those are not human beings. They are demons that she has been slaying, and she is ready to slay our demons. So imagine that the energy of guilt and shame is like a mini little demon that is whispering something in your ear, and you go, Kali Jaya. Kali, you invoke the force of Kali through this very simple mantra, victory to Kali, right? Kali Jaya, Kali Jaya. You sing that. You can bring in some drums if you like. You know, it will be
Oh, I love it.
Kali Jaya, Kali Jaya, Kali Jaya, Kali. And you start moving into that. I encourage you to sing this mantra for 5 minutes. Maybe when we finish that, we can post the links. It's all over my web, YouTube as well, or my website, and it's something easy to remember. We simplify the mantras to the maximum. For instance, in this one, when we invoke Kali, it's just Kali Jaya, so that you can remember. So this is mantra japa. You're conditioning yourself to be in a state of energetic and emotional freedom. If you want to take that one step further, you go like Kaliya, Trishulaya, Kaliya, Jaya, invoking the power of change, transformation, the destruction of Kali. So you start moving, you see, with some mantras, and you do that just for 5 minutes every day, every morning. And what you are saying is like, I surrender. I'm not here trying to stop my guilt and shame, but I'm calling in to force this certain energies inside of me, which are the power of my dark feminine, to come and destroy, dissolve, transmute what doesn't serve me. All right? So this is one way of approaching. It's approaching the transmutation process with fire. We are looking at this emotion. We go like, listen, you have nothing to do in my field. Like right now, it's no longer useful. I don't need to be vulnerable. I don't need to enter into therapy mode. I don't need to talk about it for the next 5 years. Just burn it to the ground.
Yes,
you know. So this is radical and it's very direct.
Great answer there, Noura81. I hope you got some perspectives. I'm going to try to give a shorter alternative perspective to what Shivarajaya said. If you just do what he said, you should be sorted. But what I would love for you to do is, when you feel guilt or shame, is first put vocabulary onto your feeling, right? I keep saying this: if you can't articulate how you're feeling, you can't sort how you're feeling. So having a vocabulary for how you're feeling, maybe it's not guilt or shame, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a lack of self-worth, maybe it's comparison, maybe it's envy, maybe it's jealousy, right? So you need to have the vocabulary. And so if you want a free vocabulary chart, just message me after this IG live saying I want the vocabulary chart. I'll send it to you, or you can even Google the feelings wheel and you'll get vocabulary. So first is, I would say, identify what is the exact feeling. And once you have identified that feeling, figure out what is the trigger, why is it coming, what happened in my life in the last 24 hours that reminded me of feeling guilty, feeling shameful, feeling, what did I repress, and find that brahmastra, find that delusion within you that you have absorbed without observation. Right? And this is a lot of self-work. It's a lot of awareness. Of course, it would help to have a coach who sees things objectively, but you can do this yourself. And then once you figure out what is it that you've absorbed, which is causing you to feel guilty, which is causing you to feel shameful, recognize the drama and discard it. And then you will find your dharma. So I always say, discard your drama to find your dharma. So I hope this makes sense, Nora, what we're saying, because at the end of the day, the only one who can sort your emotions is you. Don't let the Western society make you feel you definitely need to go to a psychiatrist and have some medicines and eat those disgusting pills and get a vaccination if you have to sort out your mental health. You have enough capability within yourself to really sort out your own mental health. All you need to do is be radically honest to yourself. You don't need to tell anybody else you're guilty and feeling ashamed. You need to figure it out. Then you need to analyze why. Introspection, self-analysis, right? So this is something which I really advocate, along with what Shivarajaya said, which is find an archetype of divinity. Like Kali is a great archetype of feminine divinity. Find her because she's the archetype that destroys guilt and shame. Worship her, pray to her, be in devotion, and surrender to her, saying, hey, I leave it to you. Right? And that can also work. That is the Bhakti Marga.
Exactly. So this is really a prayer that we are sending out to the skies, right? We use this space of dynamic meditation or dynamic activation as a space for prayer. This is what we're doing and invoking those qualities. Remember that Kali is not something that is out there separate from you. It's an aspect of your being. It's an aspect of your being that is alive inside of you. Something else that we can do along the same lines. So I give you a mantra, but it's also energetic or emotional release. So energetic emotional release means that when you have an emotion that you don't like inside of you are going to shake it out. And for instance, if I was feeling frustration, release. Exactly. So if I'm feeling a frustration inside of me, I'm going to shake my body and then add the sound. I'm going to be breathing and making some sound, and then I can dive deeper into the intensity of the emotion. For instance, if I feel really anger and rage coming to the surface and frustration, it might be like, yes, right, and diving into the sound so that I give space for these emotions to be expressed. I don't want to bottle them up. I don't want to suppress them. I just want to give them space so that they are being released. I'm not projecting them on anybody. This is an internal process. I go into the jungle, I go on the waterfall, or I have a shower here in my garden, and I just like and shake it out. And then I can add again the mantra if it's appropriate, and I go like Kali Jaya and add intensity in the way I sing it. It's going to be with more fire, with more emotion, and way more energy. So there is the shaking, there is the breathing, there is the sound. You can move into fire breath as well. Just activate energetic and emotional freedom by fire breathing. So it's going to look like this. And so all of those are energetic and emotional release techniques. They are transmutation pathways to take an emotion, which is a stuck emotion, immature emotion, and transmute that into a mature flow. And the core idea is to give space to that emotion rather than trying to suppress it. So here we go. You have like so many different, possible pathways. I encourage you to try it out.
We've given you so many pathways. We've given you the energetic solution. We've given you intellectual solution where you can journal and do introspection. And now we've also given you a somatic or body-based solution. So choose your solution, Nara. There's no right or wrong answer. You figure out what works for you the best. Exactly. Thank you for that question. I have to remind you, if you're watching this later, please leave more questions for us. If you're watching us live now, you can leave questions for us. A lot of great appreciation coming in. Olga, Fatima, Kirti, Sophia Sundari, Joe, Lavkesh, Rahul. Thank you all for watching us now. Let's continue talking about the darkness within us, and let's move to mastery of the darkness, because we've spoken about integration, we've spoken about awareness, we've spoken about different techniques through which you can allow it to flow out. But what is the real mastery when it comes to mastery of darkness?
So there are so many different ways of approaching it. One thing that I encourage you to do is to have a very clear distinction between mature and immature darkness. So it's exactly what you were saying, right?
Let's define those a bit.
Okay, so when you have an emotion inside of you, or for instance, imagine that I'm having a conversation with somebody, then we start engaging into some form of argument or into some form of fight, right? We're going to start arguing about something. For instance, imagine that I'm a vegan and you prefer eating meat, right? For instance, right? Which is a topic that is online all the time. You have the carnivores and then you have the vegans, and the two of them are like arguing with each other. It's the most stupid conversation that you can imagine, because it's like make
And
your own choice.
just to add on, nowhere in yoga it says eat vegetarian or vegan. Yoga only says ahimsa. So if the vegans and the
Exactly.
vegetarians are using yoga as an excuse, please stop right now.
Okay. So I'm personally a vegan, but if, for instance, Anjan is, do you eat meat?
No, I'm on a
No.
plant-based diet. But
Okay, plant-based.
I like to
But
bust the myth that yoga says be vegan or vegetarian. That's
yeah,
all.
okay. Beautiful. So imagine that I'm having this argument with somebody. If I enter into a fight with that person, I'm going to be like, you are wrong. You should not be
Mm.
doing that, and pushing, and I get really angry about it, and I get out of myself. Then my level of performance, or how I'm performing this conversation, is not going to be very high. It's going to be maybe a
That's
5 out of 10. The reason why it's a 5 out of 10 is because I'm losing touch with myself. I'm getting really emotional about it, and I'm getting forceful. I'm trying to impose my dogmas on somebody else. I'm robbing them for the right for self-determination. All these things. It's like I'm actually entering into a space which is very dominant and very controlling of somebody else's choices. So I'm not
Yes.
going to be, I totally agree that sometimes we can really be very directive and try to influence people in powerful ways, giving them permission or non-permission. For instance, if somebody crosses my boundaries, I'm allowed to say no, back off, right? And be very real with that. But so what we want to do is this. For instance, when it comes to let's say to the dark masculine, imagine that we have two sets of qualities. Over here, again, you cannot read it because it's reversed. Basically, what
It's
it says
upside
over
down.
here is dark masculine mature aspects, and then you have the dark masculine immature aspects, right?
Amazing.
And so I'm just going to give you some examples. For instance, the immature aspects of the dark masculine are going to be complaining, resentful, blaming, shaming, misusing my power, being contracting, staying bitter, controlling,
Gaslighting.
mistrust, abusive, gaslighting, manipulative, ghosting, flaming, being selfish, inconsiderate, triggered, disrespectful, attacking, losing my shit, being vindictive, judging, right?
Losing
So you have
my
this whole
shit.
list over here, and it's only a tiny fraction of what's available, but those would be the qualities
Yes.
of the immature masculine, right? And the immature
Immature
feminine
masculine.
might be something along that line as well. But we are going to distinguish right now with immature aspects of the masculine. And then
Okay,
if we move
let's
into the
read the
mature,
mature masculine out.
exactly. So if we bring in the mature masculine aspects, I'm just going to give you I show up, I'm truthful, I have an unshakable presence, I take responsibility, I protect, I conquer, I achieve, I create, I activate, I inspire, I liberate, I open space, I love powerfully, I validate, I destroy when I have to destroy, I respect, I am honest, I am direct, I am connected, I'm caring, smart, awake, I envision, I'm unapologetic, I'm confident, I have clear boundaries, etc. So those are the kind of qualities I want to move from being in immature to mature. For instance, if I notice that
Beautiful.
I'm in a relationship and I start moving into an abusive behavior, I want to move from abusive to respect. So I'm going to check in inside of me. I go like, listen, right now, I'm not actually behaving in a very mature way. So this is one of the core distinctions that I'm making on a daily basis. For instance, earlier I was facing an emotional challenge, right? Around lunchtime. I have a very simple emotional challenge. And I check in, I go like, what is this emotional reaction? Why do I get triggered about that? And then I get triggered because it's me trying to control something that is out of my control. That's it. Very simple. And then I go, what is the mature response? The mature response is release control. It's like, just let it go.
That's right.
It's not mine. It's not mine. I let it go. And the moment I shift that, the moment I let go of trying to control that specific aspect, then everything falls back into place and I go back to harmony, right? So the idea is to be able to circulate precisely those energies and use them in ways that are creative to our field, to our life. Now, if we move that and we take that on a large scale, where are the areas where darkness is immature, right? So again, we go back into the way politics are functioning, into the complete misuse of power that is going on, in the corrupted systems, in the way big corporations are not caring about the
Yes.
human race. It's
Yes.
like things like
Yes.
that. There is things that are
So
happening on this
it's not
planet
at just
that
at the personal level, it's also at the global level and at the political level and at the
exactly.
level of the entire planet.
Exactly. So there are really things happening on this planet that we could be labeling as evil, right? That you
Darkness,
go
yeah.
like, okay,
Immature darkness.
bombing
So,
children, innocent children is like, my God, it's like, how did we come to a place where we are able to accept that? So we have
yes.
to evolve as human race, right?
Or even
So when
what's
we
happening
identify
now
that,
in Palestine and Gaza with the Israeli attack and the homicide there, and not the homicide, sorry, the genocide there, the
yes,
killing of
yes,
children. It's definitely dark, immature energies.
exactly. And the reason why
In
it's happening,
yes, please.
yeah, we are doing our best as human race. Listen, it's not about trying to label people as good or bad. We live within systems that are a little bit corrupted, and we
Yes,
have the possibility right now to raise the vibration and to evolve to something that is better. It's not so much about criticizing or
true.
attacking what is existing. It's more about creating new realities that make the old life obsolete, right? This is the way we want to look at it. It's like
Yeah,
me as a human being, as a tantrika, I commit myself to do whatever I can to show
at
up
my
as
level.
much as
Yes,
possible in my mature masculine. And if there is something that I'm doing that is immature, that is falling into the immaturity traps, and I'm behaving like an idiot, it's my responsibility to self-reflect, to be accountable to my own
yes,
actions. So it's
yes.
not so much about controlling what's happening out there. It's more like
Exactly.
there is enough
Yeah,
stuff to do in my own system, right? In my own job.
exactly.
And even after 30 years of spiritual exploration, I still have shit in my system. I still have
So
things that I'm trying to navigate and that I'm
this
trying to
is
master. There are
very
constantly
beautifully
challenges
said,
coming
and
in.
I think this is an important point that everybody watching should write down. Of course, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world, and we can get into tons of conspiracy theories, and we can talk about things like human sacrifice and other things that big secret organizations are planning, and there's so much there actually. Even if you go and talk to some yogis in India, they will talk about Narabali, which is human sacrifice, and the ancient powers which are fighting with each other. But what Shiva Raja is trying to say is all you can do is influence at your cellular individual level.
Exactly.
So really get the power of emotional self-regulation, learning the difference between your immature darkness and your mature darkness. And this power of emotional self-regulation will always allow you to respond and not react. And this is
Exactly.
so beautifully said with your two charts. I love it.
Yes, exactly. So, the idea is this, it is that if there is a fight going on, a war between two countries, for instance, something that is devastating for whole populations, and myself in my own microcosm, I don't know how to solve a conflict with my neighbor, you know,
Yes.
I'm doing
Or a
exactly the
conflict
same thing.
within myself. Should I eat today vegan food or should I eat meat? Because my best friend said you should eat meat because you don't get vitamin B12 if you eat only vegetables.
Exactly. So the conflict that I might have inside of me, or for instance, precisely with a farmer next door, and I cannot resolve that, then I'm trapped into the same dynamics. It's like it's just a
Yes.
different scale. But my job is to look at the micro dynamics and how to resolve that. For instance, with the farmers over here around me, one day I had a farmer who was chopping one of my trees, right? My property over there. And I was like getting a little bit irritated. I said, why is he chopping that? But then I realized what's the priority here? The priority is for me to be connected heart to heart with this neighbor. It's like this guy has been on this field for his whole life, 40 years
Or
of
many
planting
generations
his,
even
his
before that.
rice. And I just arrive and I start imposing my view and telling him what he can do or not do. It's like, this is complete nonsense. It's like my
Yeah.
intense, my intense
Ownership.
intention with that person is to connect heart to heart. My relationship to him is more important than the quality of my tree or my tree being there or not. It's like if the heart connection between me and this farmer is being broken,
Beautiful.
then I miss completely the point. I establish a conflict and I become
Yes.
the
The enemy.
idiot expat who is playing the game of
The bully.
colonization. It's just like exactly the bully, and it's the most stupid thing to do. So in that very micro choice, when I look at dynamics like this one, then my job is to optimize every aspect of my life. And of course, I don't want to be obsessing about it, but when I notice that there is a shadow somewhere in the field, I look at it and I go like, okay, I'm going to identify the transmutation pathways that are going to heal that specific pattern. This is what I want to do. It's like I've got nothing else to do in life than actually try precisely to optimize. Once I know how to optimize it inside of me, then I can help other people optimize it inside of them.
That's right.
Like for instance,
That's
when
right.
it comes, if we start moving into the darkness within the coupling experience, which is a beautiful thing, right?
Yes.
Then we move into couples and into relationships and into dating and into sensuality and even sexuality, right? Then suddenly we open the pathways precisely where we are being tested by our partners all the time, right?
So if
We
you're
move.
listening and if you're still watching with us and you feel that we have given you a lot of information which you can't actually absorb, remember in one simple sentence what Shiva Rajaya said some time ago is that our job as humans is to constantly expand and become aware. So can you increase your own awareness towards things and behaviors of yours that are destroying heart connections with other humans or with nature or with the entire planet? That's all. That's the only quest here, is to become a better human than you are today. Nobody's saying you're a bad human, but just can you become a little better than you were? That's all we're
A little
saying.
bit
And
better.
we're
Exactly.
using all these terminology and signs and archetypes so that we can explain it in depth and maybe talk about a scenario which is familiar to you. But at the end of the day, if we had to say this in one sentence, it is basically love everybody, right? That's what we're trying to say. We're saying be more loving. And how can you be more loving is first by being more loving to your own dark side.
Exactly. So listen, what is very important as well is that when we engage into this reality of darkness and light and so on, we are not bypassing. We are not saying no to certain things. Like for instance, in the list that I gave you over here of dark, masculine, mature aspects and immature aspects, for instance, aggressive energy is in both. My aggressive energy can be a force that I use to create things, to protect my family, to be proactive, right? Aggressive energy
Yes.
is an energy that I'm using all the time, but not in the direction of hurting other human beings, but simply as a force, as an energy, as a fire that is potentially powerful. The same with my anger. My anger and my rage, they are sacred when I am not enslaved by them, but I am the master of this rage and the master of this anger. So you might be like, what? Rage? How can rage be a positive force? Because there are going to be moments in life where your rage
When you
might
have to
be
embody
able,
that emotion. Yes.
where that might save your life. Imagine that you're a mother and you have two children and your family is under attack or under threat by somebody who wants to hurt you, and then you are able to take the power of the Trishula, and really threat the person who is attacking you by just expressing your fire, and you say, if you touch my children, I will fucking destroy you.
Yes.
Right? This rage that comes from within is a protective force that might save your life. So it's really important. We are not trying to suppress those things.
No.
We're trying to ride them and try to master them and keep everything and everybody safe. For instance, in the context of relationship, there is going to be sometimes moments where intensifying the dialogue, intensifying the conversation and going into intensity with each other, not just being like, everything is fine. No, my girlfriend, right now, you might be really angry with me, and I want to hear why. I want to give you space to express it and voice it so that you don't bottle it up inside of you.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
your rage and your beautiful anger is going to be a turn on, is going to be something that makes me feel safe around you because I know that you can access that power, that beauty, that warrior goddess energy that is going to be engaged when we go into battles together. If we go to business together and launch a business together, I want to know that you have your darkness is embodied inside of you.
Absolutely.
That is not just abstract.
So I think
those
with
are the
what you
tools we
said,
need.
you already answered the question of Miss Maria, who says there was many aspects of light as well when we spoke about the mature masculine and immature masculine. Thanks, Joe, for answering her question. And this is exactly what he's saying. any one quality is neither good or bad. And that's our entire point of this discussion, that darkness is neither good or bad. Neither is light good or bad. You need to have all these emotions in your arsenal and use what you need to use appropriately, naturally, when you need to use them. And
Exactly. So I can give you
that's the
another.
game of life. That's learning how
Exactly.
to play this game. Beautiful.
Exactly.
Shall we
So I can give
do
you.
the feminine mature versus immature feminine
Well, it's a little bit
in the
the same model. So it's not, there isn't really a fundamental that much change between the immature aspects. It's a little bit the same thing. But I want to tell you something. It is that, for instance, when it comes to these emotions, for instance, when we think about jealousy, right? You might be jealousy is bad by itself, right? And I go like, no, jealousy is not bad by itself. Sometimes I choose to be in my mature jealousy. Mature jealousy might mean
could
that
be
might be claiming
inspiring.
my girlfriend. I might be in a public situation and tell to a man, this woman is with me. Don't fuck me up.
Yeah,
You're my brother. She's with me. Don't flirt with her. Don't try to get her. She's taken. So stay the fuck
yeah,
away from her, right?
yeah.
So this is going to be
Or
my
it could be
mature.
inspiring when you look at somebody and you say, that is some success that I would also love, and that jealousy can transmute to inspiration.
Exactly. But the point is this, it is that by itself, jealousy is neither good or bad. It's in the way it's being used.
And how you use it.
If my jealousy is triggering deeper connection with my partner and creating a sense of safety, and she goes like, wow, he's really protective. He really loves me. He really wants to be with me.
Yes.
This is why he's claiming me. Most women will say they love to be claimed. And sometimes
Yes.
the jealousy is going to come in immature ways. It's going to be, how the fuck do you dare talking to that guy, right? This
Yeah.
is going to be threatening and aggressive.
Yes.
That's not very mature. That's very mature because she's going to retreat. She say, oh, you are dangerous. I don't want to be around you, right? But if the
Yeah.
jealousy is like, hey, I could see how much this guy was flirting with you, and that's
Interested in you,
okay.
yeah.
I don't feel threatened by that, but know that you belong to me. We are together,
Exactly.
right?
So
for
at the
instance,
end of the day, it's basically transmuting everything that could be immature behavior into a mature behavior and growing up.
exactly. The reason why we're saying all that is because we don't want to suppress. I love the shadow aspects of my personality. I love the fact that I can be, that I can engage in life with fire, with passion, with desire, with emotions. It's like I'm emotionally embodied. This is the beauty of Tantra. It is that instead of this being the transcendental pathway, for instance, if you practice Hatha Yoga and you're on yoga mat and you start screaming and yelling and doing some emotional release, most of the times the teacher is going to say, listen, this is not really appropriate here.
Yeah.
Go back to the practice, go back to the light.
Yeah.
Whereas with Tantra, the moment there is intensity, we go like, great, there is juice here.
Go in
Yeah,
deeper.
fuck yes. Let's go for it and see what comes out of it.
Beautiful.
But don't worry,
Very well said.
it's very
which is
safe.
why,
It's very,
which is why even there's so many common statements on the planet today, especially in the spiritual community. One of my favorites that I keep picking apart is don't judge, right? And this is such a one-sided statement because the one saying don't judge, what are they doing? At that moment, they're judging. So already there's hypocrisy there. So when anybody says don't judge, understand that they're just coming from a perspective of them thinking as judgment as bad. Judgment in itself is neither good or bad. Unless we judge, how do you know what you like, who you want to spend with, what food you eat, right? So this in
yes,
Sanskrit we call viveka or discernment, the ability to judge what is good for you.
exactly.
So like Shivarajaya is saying, any of these things that are perceived as negative, rage or jealousy or judgment or anger or any of these things which are perceived as negative also has a light side to it. And that's a beautiful thing talking about the darkness, is that we also find the light in perceived darkness.
Exactly. That's
I love that. I
beautiful.
love that you said that. Beautiful.
So
One
Miss
more
Maria
reminder
was
for
asking
you.
about,
Please leave questions for us. Please leave a comment if you're watching this later, because thoughts from you will really help us to share at the level that is valuable for you.
yeah, beautiful. I was surprising. There was Fatima is saying it was surprising feeling. Can you? So good when I first started cursing loudly. Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah.
beautiful because cursing feels really good. Sometimes, if, for instance, if we are angry with Anjan, and one day we meet face to face, and he's angry with me, and he goes like, "Fuck you, Shiva," you know. It's going to be an energetic or emotional release. It's like we're not afraid of this because it's like it's part of the. So it's really it's true, Fatima. When you start being able to curse loudly, this is you embodying the your dark feminine and being able to own it. So that's beautiful. And then there was
But
another question
there,
from
just a disclaimer to that. Always remember the thumb rule of Tantra that I keep saying. Any of your actions, any of your words, any of your embodied practices, you're going to just think, is it helping me grow? Is it making me decay? Right? And neither is
yes,
wrong. Decaying is also not wrong, but just be aware this action is making me decay. So, for example, if you consume some kind of drug, some kind of alcohol, some kind of cigarette or vape, or all the things that people are doing now, maybe it's enjoyable for the moment, but in the long term, there's decay. As long as you do that with awareness, Tantra says it's okay.
yes, exactly, exactly. That's beautiful. There was another question about the light earlier. I'm not sure if you
Yeah,
can
we
find it.
answered that. We answered that already. Miss Maria was asking that. We answered that already. Okay, let's talk about. I wanted to talk about Carl Jung's concept of the golden shadow, where he says sometimes the shadow is not really dark; it's a golden shadow,
Hmm.
and he says that this could be an aspect of you suppressing your good qualities. Like maybe you get a bit upset when somebody is so joyful or so happy or so exuberant because you actually are like that and you're suppressing it just because you worry, oh, what will people think of me if I'm so exuberant and happy? Will they think I'm silly? Or maybe somebody is so successful and you're suppressing that and you're like, rich people are evil or some kind of a programming you have. So this
Yes,
is called The
yes.
Golden Shadow by Carl Jung. And let's
Oh,
talk about
okay.
that also because transmuting that and mastering that is part of mastering your darkness.
Absolutely. So in what you're describing is envy, rivalry, and competition, right? For instance, if you are being successful and I'm not, you are being successful and making lots of money and I'm not, then the envy and the rivalry and the competition is going to be a shadow inside of me, right? So it's something that
Yes.
is going to limit myself. How it's going
Yeah.
to feel in my field is going
And
to
these
feel
are
like a
called the
contraction.
golden shadows. These are basically submerged creative potentials, like beautiful parts that are hidden, like like teacher-student relationships, Sometimes you idolize the teacher, whereas the teacher keeps saying you have everything in you to become another me. Like Buddha kept saying, don't follow me. Don't
Exactly.
follow the finger that points to the moon. But people idolize him and even made an entire religion out of everything he said.
Exactly. Exactly. So if I am precisely feeling this emotion of envy, I'm going to look at the emotion. I say, am I mature masculine right now or immature? Is this something that I want to have in my field or not? And I will notice straight away that the emotion of envy means that there is something that is not fully grounded inside of me. It means that
That's right.
it's an insecurity. It comes from a place where I don't feel powerful enough. I feel like my creative power is not strong enough. And so I'm going to try to suppress other people's successes, right? And
Yes.
so that's a shadow emotion. So the way to transmute that specific shadow is to celebrate other people's victories. Like for instance, if I see you winning and I like, well done, I'm so proud of you, and then you are supporting me the other way around, even if
And
you don't
also to
support me.
add to that, if you're finding somebody else winning and that's triggering you, that somebody else has something you don't have, maybe find your own beauty because along with celebrating them, you have that same quality within you. So you can
Exactly.
also be you can also be high energy, you can also be joyful, you can also be a winner, you can also be the Buddha.
Exactly. So very often we are going to learn from each other, and it's exactly what you were saying. It's like if I notice that there is a quality that I don't know how to embody and how to bring into the surface, then I'm going to learn from that brother and be like, well, that man is being successful in what he's doing. And if I'm not, then I'm going to discover the pathways. What is it that this man is doing that I'm not doing yet? Instead of using the rivalry and the contraction. And so that completely transmutes the way I position myself. I suddenly come as a student. I suddenly discover that there is an aspect of my personality that is not fully developed, not fully open, and then I can open the pathways. But always go back, the way we are navigating it is not so much from a rational, logical perspective. It's more like an art form. It's like, how does that feel in my system? Does this emotion feel good? No, it feels like shit. So what am I going to do about it? I'm going to release and do something about it.
That's a feminine approach to solving these problems, right?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
which is
Remember
why
that everything that you are.
I have to bring my feminine avatar.
Oh, oh my God, you are so pretty. I like your beard.
Oh, thank you. This is my dark feminine.
Jesus. Do you have a name? goddess.
Yeah, Anjana.
Anjana, beautiful. That's hilarious, man. Listen,
So,
there is one more topic that I would like to cover quickly. It has
yes,
to do
please.
with
Yeah, let's do it.
bringing the darkness within the context of relationships and coupling experience.
Absolutely.
Because very often, what's going to happen is that couples are going to be very comfortable with the romantic period and be really happy in the light vibration and so on. And then when the challenges start hitting, most of the times there is going to be blame happening. There is going to be a conflict happening. It's like the woman or the man might be accusing each other of, you're not giving me what I want in the relationship, and
Yes.
they're going to turn against each other. So there is something that we call, dark coupling. And dark coupling is the idea of to
Dark
embody. I
coupling. I love
embody
that.
dark coupling. I embody my dark masculine, and my partner is going to embody her dark feminine. And again, we're going to use mantras. We're going to use the Trishula. I become Kala, right? I become the energy of the dark masculine, and my partner becomes the energy of the dark feminine. This is amazing. The energy of the dark feminine and the dark masculine. And so when we start,
I'm
here we go.
graphically representing it for you.
Yes, thank you. So in the process of doing that, we are going to anchor precisely a very strong vehicle, which represents a pact of respect and non-aggression towards each other. I'm not going to dive into the practices, but know that this idea of embodying the darkness and glorifying the darkness is something that we can bring within the context of relationships. And the way it works for me, the way I embody it, is that when my partner is angry or going into rage or going into her Kali mode, I'm doing my best. Sometimes I feel a bit threatened, but I'm doing my best to celebrate precisely the dimensions of the dark feminine instead of trying to suppress it. The traditional response from a man who sees a woman going a little bit wild and being intense and being angry is going to be like, you are crazy. What's wrong with you? You need therapy. You need treatment. You need to see somebody. You need professional help or something like that. So from the tantric perspective, instead of looking at it from that angle, we go like, you are angry. My God, that's the first time I see you really
I get to even
losing your shit.
So,
yeah, I see. Thank you for the gift. This is really a great gift.
Even in your relationships, especially when there's dark coupling, it boils down to emotional self-regulation, boils down to having a mature response and not reaction, and also boils down to conscious communication and what Shiva Rajaya said, which is celebrating every aspect of your partner, just like you would celebrate every aspect of you, because that aspect of your partner is, if it's triggering you, it's also going to teach you something. Every hurt and every wound is an opportunity for growth.
Exactly. So when I'm in my dark masculine, when I'm in my power, really grounded, it's very easy for me to embrace and love all aspects of the feminine. It's only when I'm not really grounded and I'm not activating and not embodying my darkness, then it's very hard for me to embrace, because I'm going to feel threatened. I'm going to feel overwhelmed by that. But when I have my strong foundation, my partner can lean against that and feel really safe in expressing the full dimension of who she is.
I love this concept so much. It reminds me of a martial arts concept where when we train, we say, unless you train violence, you cannot be peaceful.
Yes, exactly.
So
that's a good one.
If somebody says, I'm peaceful, I always ask them, what are you going to do if somebody comes to stab you? Oh, I'm probably going to get stabbed. So you're not peaceful. You're helpless. Now, if you have the skills to break their hand when they're coming to stab you, but you choose not to break the hand, then you're peaceful. So peace is reached because you understand violence. And I love what you're saying, because you're saying, only because I integrate and understand my darkness can I find my light. Oh, yeah, that's golden words, my friend.
And find the love in there. Yeah, that's beautiful. Listen, when we think about the Shaolins in southern China, the Shaolin monks and the monasteries, it's a little bit the same idea. Those monks have mastered the art of meditation, the art of being really centered in themselves, but at the same time, they know how to defend themselves and use weapons. So they
mastered the art of killing, of taking a life.
Yes, exactly. So it's the reason why it's like that is because in those monasteries, after centuries of being raided by hordes
Yes. Yeah.
of robbers, then at some point they go like, listen, it's enough. They are always killing us. We have to do something about it.
Yeah.
So it's merging the light and the darkness and merging those two
And
qualities and polarities.
through that understanding of how to take a life or how to kill somebody, I think their understanding of life itself blossomed. And that's why all Eastern traditional martial arts have such, amazing aspects to them about how to live life. And that's
Exactly.
exactly what you're also saying, which is go through the darkness and embrace it to truly find your real self and celebrate it.
Exactly.
I love that. How should we
That's
recap? Is there anything that comes to your mind that people should remember from this talk?
Yeah, the first thing is make the distinction between darkness and the Hollywoodian or the Western quality. Darkness, see
Is
darkness
not
as
evil.
this in and yang symbol, right? As your light and your darkness are harmonizing themselves. And if you want to be a fully integrated being, you have to be master of both light and darkness. The second thing that is very important is that shadows and darkness are two different things. Make a very clear distinction. Shadows and darkness are two different things. Darkness by itself is just a pure quality, and it can be mature or it can be immature, used in different ways, right? So have a little bit those definitions in mind. And remember that the core idea is for you to be master of the different energy realities that are inside of you. Master of your shadows, master of your darkness, master of your sexual energy, master the different energetic environments that you can tap into. It's not just, okay, I'm master of my light, I know how to meditate 20 hours a day. But then as soon as you get hit by something that is challenging you a little bit, you get completely out of control, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
what you want is to be able to navigate the different dimensions of life. If you are in natural environments, it means you want to be able to live in the desert, you want to be able to live in the forest, in the ocean, in all environments, in high mountains, right? So with emotional landscapes and energetics, it's the same thing. If I know how to be enlightened and how to be beautiful and how to be happy in a high Himalayan cave, that's great. But what if I go in the
It's
center of New York and in
society.
LA?
Yeah.
Or in very intense environments, I need to be able to master those urban environments, and I can only do that if I'm master of my darkness as well. It means that I'm going to engage with power, with tools, with energies, with conquering drive, with making money, becoming really rich. Whatever this my line might be. Remember that you want to be master of light and master of your darkness. And the other thing that is important is that if you want to cultivate precisely your darkness, bring in techniques, practices, for instance, this mantra, Kali Jaya, energetic emotional release, shaking, breathing, do something dynamic that is going to help you circulate those energies. And dare to look at your darkness as something that is pure and beautiful. The moment you can tap into that and be like, and feel the beauty of this gift that was given to us. This was not a mistake of creation. It's not like God goes like, okay, here, we give you anger, and then now you're fucked. You go like, what? No. It's like it's a gift. It's all the darkness that we have inside of us are gifts that are really, really powerful. And it's a lifelong. See it as an art form. Really.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, those are
You recapped very well. Recap very well.
Yeah, thank you.
I just wanted to
So
add
feel free
that
to. Yeah, go
in
ahead.
the Indian mythology, Shiva is always portrayed as dark skin. And there's a specific reason for that. And the reason is even Adiyogi had to integrate with his darkness.
Exactly.
So who are we as mere mortals to fight against it? So I think our main message today is don't fight against your darkness. It's not evil. It's not bad. Instead, embrace it, integrate it so that you can become a more complete human and you can truly enjoy this experience that we call humanness.
Exactly, transmute. And I want you to know you can reach, okay? Send us questions. What we are sharing over here is just 1 hour.
Let's talk about all your upcoming events in Bali. So I would really recommend whoever's watching this to really go to Bali at least sometime in your life. It's the island of gods before it gets more polluted and more traffic than it already is. Shiva Rajaya leads some of the biggest events there. I think some 8 years ago, I went to some event of yours at Yoga Barn, Ecstatic Dance, or some cacao ceremony. I don't even remember. But we connected only last year, and then we've been chatting for a while. He has weekly men's circles. He has an amazing WhatsApp group where he keeps inspiring, and he has the Brotherhood of Kings, and of course the mixed gender sessions and a bunch
Mixed
of
group.
other things.
Yeah.
So please talk about your offerings, and I would really recommend you to go to Bali or connect with him online to really upgrade your life and continue on your Tantra journey.
Yeah. What I want to say is that now that we are in your network, right? Maybe it's the first time that you meet me. Feel free to send questions. Feel free to engage. What we're
Yes.
sharing over here is a tiny little fraction. My teachings are organized in the Vital Tantra system and Vital Coaching system. I've been coaching for 20 years. I started on my spiritual journey around 1989. So it's like 35 years of really deep exploration. And I really want you to reach out, send me questions. And I have tons of videos. I have tons of content that is available. What we shared over here today is just a big, highlight so that you have an understanding of these dynamics. But of course, there is way more. Very often within the field of Tantra, it says that it's a 12-year training. It's something that is equivalent of doing a couple of PhDs when in the university. So it's an embodiment, right? It's not just the rational. It's not the concept. It's not just learning the scriptures. It's really embodying all that on a multidimensional level. So when you face a challenge, instead of staying stuck with this challenge and not knowing what to do, if you face a challenge, just send me a message and we'll check it out. If you have the feeling that you would like to work into going deeper into a session, then if it's something that requires a more deeper explanation, we can have a session together. It's like remote. It's very easy to set up. We spend 90 minutes together, and then we look into their situation and what you're facing. The same for couples. If you are in a relationship and you don't understand your man and you're like, what's going on? Or you are with a woman and you don't understand what she's doing or why she's reacting, or you don't know how to synchronize or how to connect, then I'm really good at creating, secret union containers where you are able to start communicating again and harmonizing your relationship. So those are, the offerings. My website is vitalcoaching.com. I'm Vital Coaching or Shiva Rajaya on Instagram. And my Facebook collapsed some years ago. I got hacked, so I'm not too active there anymore. But basically, yeah, feel free to reach out, and maybe we are going to post
really friendly, and he will respond to your message. Don't have any hesitation or shyness. Just message and say hi, and he will respond. He's so humble and down to earth and easy to reach. And if you go to Bali, make sure you go and hang out with him, give him my love, and I will probably see you soon in Bali.
Exactly.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I want to finish just with one question that I want to ask the audience. And it's something that we do over here in the group is like, what is the golden gift? Try to take a white page in front of you and write down what is the golden gift that you received today, something that you will remember for the rest of your life.
Amazing.
What is the golden gift that you received today? That way you can really anchor it into your field. And Jaya, I look forward to see you all in Bali.
Thank you all for watching this. This was the longest episode of Tantra Tuesdays, and I'm so blessed to have Shiva Rajaya. Episode 13. We started this in Jan, and we're slowly chugging along once a week. I hope you'll watch us every Tuesday. I'm a relationship coach. I use practices from Tantra and yoga to help you find more intimacy. Feel free to reach out if it calls out to you. And I thank you for watching it. If you stayed till the end, special hugs and kisses for you. And thank you, Shiva Rajaya, once again for gracing us.
Let's throw our hands to the sky.
All your love
Jaya 5 times.
Amazingness. What are we doing 5 times?
Jaya to the sky.
Victory
Jaya means
5
victory.
times.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Jaya.
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 Jaya. Jaya. Jaya.
Jaya. You guys are amazing, beautiful beings. We love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.